that'll never be used again.
Hello YouTubers, my name is Lewis. I'm with Black Wolf Custom Glock Shop, West Palm Beach, Florida. There's been a few things that have been said about myself and my company which are totally and completely false. I did have one unsatisfied customer who said in the beginning he was very satisfied, calls me up a couple hours later. I forgot to give him the screws for his Mosin. I told him that I would basically bring those screws to his home, and that was that. Next day I get a call, where's the screws for the Mosin? Well, I didn't have time to actually bring them, so he got a little pissed off at that, and I told him I'd be back by either later on that day or the next day. Well, the next day came, later on that day came, and the next day came, obviously. And I just didn't have enough time, so it was only X amount of time in one day. So he started getting a little pissed off. He's like, well, you know, you poked a hole in my Mosin barrel and all this other crap, and I want my Mosin back. I want you to buy me a new Mosin. And then when I told him basically, no, you knew that you had a hole in that Mosin, and I know you know because you're a meticulous individual. I mean, he's got all kinds of guns just like I do laid out. And these are guns that I have done, that he's constantly cleaning and taking apart. I mean, he knew. I mean, when I gave him back the gun, he didn't even look down up the barrel, I mean, through the chamber, or look down with a light. And he just looked over the gun, he went over it. You know, he did, you know, any reasonable thinking person, after having work done on a firearm, should know to basically, if there's no bolt in it, basically you're going to look down the barrel and make sure everything's cool. He didn't do it because he knew there was a hole there. Okay, now you guys on YouTube know this guy for 4 years. YouTube is very new to me, and you're going to be seeing a lot of me. Not pertaining to this, by the way, but pertaining to firearms, basically of disassembly, reassembly, modifications, both semi-automatic and fully automatic. These two. This is semi. There's a Glock 20 10 millimeter, basically done up in what I call Confederate redneck. I happen to like this gun. It also has a Glock safety, which I put on manual safety. And this is one of my car guns, which is a Remington 870 short-barreled shotgun. I do have a side saddle for it, but I just did this gun in basically skulls, and it came out really nice. But we'll get back to this stuff in a little bit. But I do want to read you something that I wrote out, because I want this to come out and people to know that they can feel comfortable ordering from me and getting their product, and nobody's going to be ripped off. I mean, that's ridiculous. And nobody stole anything. I'm not somebody that goes out and rips people off, steals their guns. I mean, that's ridiculous. But anyway, I'm just going to let you know. I'm going to read this because I couldn't remember all this. Okay, and if it comes out a little garbled, well, oh well. Well, this guy came up to me one day and says he's got a barrel for a Mosin Nagant, which I knew nothing about Mosins before, obviously. I went online, checked it out, Russian, then the Chinese used it, and they're about 100 years old, roughly. And they range between $50 and $1,000, depending on what you get. He then goes on to say he has no money. This was basically a trade, because as soon as I got into his house and started looking at it, I said, it's going to be about $350. He goes, well, I have no money. I'm disabled. And I'm looking at the guy like, you don't seem disabled to me. I said, what are you disabled from? He goes, I have extreme anxiety. Okay, well, I have extreme anxiety. I'm on a job that can get me killed quick, very quick. I do a very dangerous job besides this internet business. But that's something different. He says he has no money, but he'll trade an AR-15 for the work. Trust me, I thought the same exact thing everyone else is thinking right now. Why in the hell would this guy trade a Mosin, $350 worth of work, for an AR-15? Well, I'm going to tell you why. I thought the same thing everyone else did. I'm thinking, but when I saw the carbine, it was a used, no-brand type of an AR. I think on the receiver it said surplus, something or other. It had no markings whatsoever. I told him I'd do it for the trade. By the way, there was never any talk on my part or his about adding an additional $350 to the deal. If there was, I would have walked away, see ya anyway, no hard feelings. I took the barrel and the AR. When I started to strip down the barrel, I noticed a hole in the bore. I know this guy knew it was there because he is meticulous with his few guns he owns. I said nothing, as he did tell me he was building this rifle for a showpiece. Okay, he fails to say this in all of his videos. He's making me out to be the bad guy, and I by no means are a bad guy. Okay, I'm actually a pretty nice guy. He was building the rifle for a showpiece, so he knew then that this barrel was screwed up. Okay, I heated the barrel, I tapped off the rear sight and the plate, which by the way had a bubble-shaped bulge on it. Okay, once I tapped off the rear sight, there was a stainless steel plate about 2 inches long, 1 inch wide, and about that thick. Okay, it had a bubble in the middle of the plate. A plate's like this and a bubble right here, and it went through, and it had like these scratch marks that you could see there. It was obviously a hole. So if he would have kept shooting that rifle, eventually, chances are it would have exploded. Where are we here? Basically, he was building the rifle for a showpiece. He knew then that there was a hole. It had a bubble-shaped bulge on it. I tapped it off and saw a hole in the barrel. Looked kind of like a scratch type of a hole. I cleaned it up, basically with a Dremel tool. Had a guy weld a 1/4 inch steel plate, roughly 2 inches long, 1 inch wide, on that area. The weld went all the way around the plate. Usually when you weld something, you put a dot here, a dot here, and a dot here, and a dot here. Well, I didn't have this guy half-ass it. I had him weld all the way around, and people now are saying, oh, your weld job's a piece of fucking shit, you know, your work's a piece of shit. Well, the weld job was phenomenal, okay? I actually like this guy. I send most of my work to that guy if this has to happen. And then I basically smoothed it out. Okay, I don't believe it was a bad weld job, actually pretty nice job. I then cleaned up the rough edges and went to work on the Duracoat process. I didn't get to this guy's gun, obviously, for at least 12 days. He said there was no rush in getting this gun done, so I didn't. Yeah, I put it on the back burner and was doing other stuff. I actually Dura-heated the barrel first. Dura-heat is basically what you put on machine guns. It withstands up to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. I put Dura-heat on this Mac 11 and this AK, entire AK. I did not put Dura-heat on the suppressor, and it started to bubble after 4 magazines full. I ran out of Dura-heat. Okay, so my bad. Okay, shoot me. So I cleaned up the rough edges and went to work on the Duracoat process. I actually Dura-heated the barrel first, then Duracoated the barrel, HK black, semi-gloss, just like he told me. He wanted semi-gloss, because I explained matte, semi-gloss, and high gloss. I was told that there was no rush, so I didn't rush. I actually wanted the barrel to cure anyway. After Dura-heating, baking, the barrel, whatever you're Duracoating, basically has to cure. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, you can put it together next 24 hours. Bullshit. You put it together in 24 hours, you leave the rifle or pistol sitting, you're going to go to chamber around and it's going to be bound. It's going to bind. Okay? So don't do that. Let it cure in a million pieces. Okay? I was told that there's no rush, so I didn't. I actually wanted the barrel to cure anyway. I then Duracoated the rest of the parts. Please note the magazine had a lot of scratches on it even before I got it, and around it. I just coated over it. This guy was calling me every day, and I mean every day, asking when Mosin was going to be ready. He wanted it back. He said there's no rush, and obviously there was some kind of a rush. He said that he just bought a synthetic stock, and you know, he wanted it back. Okay, basically to push forward. So one morning, about 3 days after coating the barrel, I returned the item back to him. This was about 8:30 in the morning, by the way. He was mesmerized by the nice finish and the beautiful plate I had welded on him, for him by another party, which is a guy that I have do my welding for me. He then went on to say that he really liked, where the hell are we here? That he really liked the job, but I forgot to drill and tap it. Now, okay, I forgot to drill and tap the gun. I said, I'll take it back, I'll drill and tap it, I'll put a Picatinny rail on. He goes, no, I have tools here, I'll do it. I said, fine. He declined and said he'd do it. 2 or 3 hours later, he called me and wanted to thank me for a nice job again, and he'd give my cards out to his friends, and he may have another gun or two for me to do. I said, cool. The next day, he calls me up, and he wants his screws. I forgot to give him the screws. You know, when I'm doing work, I put everything in a box, label it, who it's going to. I'd probably put the screws in another box. So I went looking for the screws. I said, I'll drop the screws off. 2 or 3 days basically went by, and I didn't bring the screws because I got busy doing whatever, whether it was this or working or whatever. I don't even remember anymore. So that was fine with him. Next day came, he calls me up, where's my screws? The next day he calls me up, where's my screws? Sorry, you know, as soon as I can bring them, I'll bring them. He goes, well, I want to put the gun together. I said, look, Ed Crawford, you cannot put that gun together now for 2 weeks, at least, minimum. Sometimes I leave my guns for a month in a million zillion pieces. He had already put this gun together, okay, bolt and all, okay. He calls me up about, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours later again and said, you put a hole in my barrel. Okay, here we go. This was the next day. He calls me up and said, I put a hole in the barrel and he wanted a new Mosin. This is where my red flags basically went up because I noticed right away that hole in the bore. And I'm sure he did too. But knowing I was working on that area of the gun, he most probably thought he could get a new barrel or Mosin rifle out of me. I said to him, Ed, I know you know what your guns are, what condition they are. You knew. Actually, you had to have known that there was a hole in the barrel. He went on to say, no, you cut into the barrel and all this stuff. Then he wanted the AR back. I was like, no, we had a deal. I held up my end, which I did. And he was told, basically I held up my end, he hung up, and about 5 days later, a friend of mine said to go look on Glock Talk. So I did. And there was a YouTube video of this barrel captioned, and I quote, Black Wolf Custom Glock Shop fucked up my Mosin. It's fucking ruined. Okay, that's terrific. I went to Glock Talk and spoke to the owner. I do advertise on Glock Talk and various other places. And they removed the video, as did the guy who put the video up there, who also said to me, he met me at a gun show, and I have a phenomenal reputation in Palm Beach County, which I did. I mean, this video stuff is really wreaked hell. I mean, actually havoc on me. You know, and now I'm having to defend myself over this bullshit. And this will be the last video that I do on this, unless it gets out of hand and law enforcement's involved. Okay, I went to Glock Talk and spoke to the owner, have him remove the video from there, and I thought that was the end of that. Well, he kept making videos, and because he's a member of the YouTube community, people sided with him. I did have a few people say that Black Wolf Custom Glock Shop had a good reputation, but everyone seemed to know Ed and sided with him, calling my business shit, I'm a thief, I'm an asshole, and such. And these videos continue as we speak today. This guy has nothing better to do than scam me, my reputation, and he sits home all day. Why he wanted to trade, I don't know. He plays with his gun collection all day because the guy does not have a job. He says he's disabled. He doesn't look disabled at all. I asked him what was wrong, like I said before. He said something about extreme anxiety and that he takes Xanax, which is a narcotic drug for anxiety. That is not a disability. It's a way, again, to scam someone, which he's basically scamming the government. That's not a disability. I have anxiety. Okay, my heart rate right now is probably 70 beats a minute. When I go out on my job, it's well over 100. It's a way to, again, scam someone, the government. That's the story of Ed and his bad Mosin, which is probably between 50 to 100 years old. I did some checking on these rifles, used by the Russians, then the Chinese, and you can pick one up for $50 to $650, but I found one for $1,000 that was in phenomenal shape. He told me he paid $100 for it. I was also told some are good, as in good shape, and some are all effed up, basically fucked up. Well, I know, he got a lemon, that's my story, and as soon as I slow down my work, basically you'll be seeing this video, which is right now. As soon as I slow down my work, because I have a second job, I will basically make off, you know, this video. This whole thing is absolutely ludicrous. I don't even respond to a lot of the Glock Talk threads. They all love this guy. Yeah, Ed's a nice guy. I mean, he speaks softly, you know, but basically he lied. He wanted something new, doesn't have any cash, and he thought he could get something out of the new guy on the block. And honestly, you know, if this was a customer from somewhere else, I probably would have said, I'll send you a new barrel. But because he got to the point, and then he started telling his 9,000 buddies on YouTube, and also Mr. Never Enough Ammo, and there's going to be a slew of others. I'll be putting a caption under all my videos too. Thank you very much. And thanks for putting my first, last name, and my address. And by the way, I got 4 trained attack dogs outside on surveillance cameras, and I got an HK-51 full auto that I won't hesitate to use on anything or anyone that comes through that gate. So we'll just bear that in mind. And that is not a threat. That's even on my gate. Enter this gate unlawfully, you're shot. No questions. This whole thing is absolutely ludicrous. I don't even respond to the Glock Talk threads, as these guys all love this guy. I'm new to Glock Talk and to the YouTube community. I don't have time for being on a computer all day. Every day, an on-mind, altering narcotic drugs, which in my opinion is fueling this guy's head to swell and grow some major balls. He could have told me as soon as I dropped it off, oh, this is a shitty job, man. You know, take it back and redo it. He did. All right. He looked at it for 5 or 10 minutes, and don't tell me he's telling me, oh, I didn't want a scene or any of that bullshit. He stood out there for 10 or 15 minutes and looked at this thing. Not one time did he look up the chamber or down the muzzle with a flashlight in the chamber, which I would have done. I will say this. the publicity, bad or good, has stung a little bit, but I'm in this for the long haul. Okay, I am not going anywhere. I will very shortly have a store. I will become a Class 3 dealer so I can sell machine guns and suppressors and whatever else I feel like selling. I actually today went down and applied, and excuse me a second, basically applied for a Class 3 license. I also made the sheriff's office aware of my situation. You know what he told me? A trade is a trade. And if the guy reports that gun stolen, which I may have and I may not have anymore, a trade is a trade. You can trade anything in Florida. I can give you my TV and trade you for a gun, and it's done. Okay, now he was going to give me a paper saying that the gun was mine that day. It was a single-page paper with where he brought that receiver from, because the receiver, you need an FFL. It's the bottom part right here. This is the receiver. Slide, barrel, you don't need anything to transfer. So basically I left it at that, and very shortly I will be making various videos, but I did want to show you, well, I showed you my short-barreled shotgun. This right here is an M11 9mm. It's done, actually Duracoated and then hydro-dipped. I have a huge hydro-dip tank in, I believe, I want to say that this was black and gray digital, and this was Duracoated in black, and then Duracoated in a cherry red, and then skulls were put onto the suppressor. And skulls were put also onto the stock, which came off of a micro Uzi pistol that I used to own. You can see that in there. It's a side cocker. I took the top end off. It's got HK sights. This thing's like holding a tiger by its tail. It'll empty a 32 round magazine. I also have a 71 round magazine, but the 32 round magazine empties in under 2 seconds. Okay. Basically, this is an AK-47, what they call a crink. I did modify it a bit. I took that crappy crink front muzzle brake off. I still have a little bit more work to do on it, you know, and I don't know if you can actually see, but it's also got some skulls on it as well, and skulls even go on the bottom there. You know, and that's basically another gun. Now these guns here are mine. The guns that I do, obviously when I'm done with them, they go back to the client. This is a gun right here that it's a CMMG AR-15 9mm. I have a 100 round Beta C-Mag. It's also registered as a short-barreled rifle, so I can take the receiver off, put my stock on, and it hangs when I go to work. It also has flip-up tritium night sights. It also has a light, but I'll show you that in a second. It also has a 9mm suppressor made by Yankee Hill. If I took that off and took these lights off, the gun will be about this big. I put something easy on that I could carry, okay? 100 round Beta Mag, which is full of rounds. I mean, you know, I didn't want to carry all that today. So basically, that's that. So anyway, this right here is a Crimson Trace vertical grip. It's green. it basically, you know, I like green. Green does a nice job. Now, when I first started carrying this weapon on my job, oh, by the way, this trigger job that I did on this rifle is a sub 3-pound trigger. I didn't want to go any lighter because this is a carry weapon on my job, and sometimes I do have to run, and the weapon does hang. So I didn't want it to go off and blow a hole in my leg. But it did have another one of these lights right here, and another one of these lights right here. So it had 4 lights. These are 500 lumen Hellfighter lights, and they work phenomenal. This is 150 lumen vertical grip with a green laser. This thing was $600 if you can believe it. And this is 150 lumens. I can either make it steady on, or I strobe it, and I do keep it on strobe for vehicles that are pulling up and I want them to back off. So I'll keep the weapon down, I'll strobe it, and, you know, tell them to go away. And if they don't, well, you do what you got to do. And I haven't had one yet not go away. And usually the sheriff is out there with us, or various police department is out there with us, and you know, that's it. But anyway, this is my story. If I need to, I will make up another one. Again, my name is Lewis. I'm with Black Wolf Custom Glock Shop, West Palm Beach, Florida. My number again is 561-635-0000. You can find me on YouTube or on the website www.blackwolfcustomglockshop.com, or you can email me, which I've gotten quite a few of because of this, and they don't know the real story, so they're all basically calling me a fucking asshole, threatening me, and all kinds of stuff. Well, don't threaten somebody who isn't intimidated. I don't care if you're King Kong Bundy. All right? You come at me, I come at you. And I really hate to say that on a video, but basically I've gotten a couple of death threats. I mean, that's not cool, man. That is not cool. Anyway, Lewis, L-O-U-I-S, at Black Wolf Custom Glock Shop is my email. And hope to hear from you guys, good or bad. You know, you don't have to threaten my life or anything like that. But, you know, whatever, you know, this is something that's going to be good for me. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos on the disassembly, reassembly, disassembly altogether, down to the bare minimum, and putting custom parts in, and just doing a lot of stuff. And it's going to be wonderful. I mean, you know, I have a special right now running on a Glock trigger that actually brings the trigger pull down to 3 pounds. And then I'm giving away free a $24 piece plus a $3 spring. Now people are asking me, why are you giving away $26? Well, it's a promotion. My magazines, which are factory Glock, by the way, and they're $26.95. Before they were $30.95. That's only because high caps are going up in price. And, by the way, people did say, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, $30.95 is bullshit when you can go to Botac or Midway or somewhere else and buy them cheap. But you know what I do? I take that spring out from Glock, factory Glock springs. I set them all aside because I usually buy my magazines by 100. And I send them back to my distributor. And I buy X amount of Wolf springs, and that's what you're getting. You're getting a Wolf spring inside of that Glock factory mag. So don't ever question the $30.95 being too much money, because if you go and look at a Glock, a Wolf spring, it's expensive. It's not cheap. So again, this is Lewis with Black Wolf Custom Glock Shop. Shoot safe and have a great day.